People come from all walks of life. They all have lives they lead. Any and all are welcome here to come and chat with me.
Hi, everyone. I hope I'm on. Welcome to the show. Sometimes people ask me, how do I get people to come onto the show? Well, it's quite simple. I ask them. I meet people on the street and I ask them, sometimes at an event or people on Facebook. And not everybody says yes. You know, there are actually people who are camera shy. Would you believe it? Anyway, today's guest is a prime example of somebody who I connected with on Facebook, and I invited her and she said yes. I'm willing to bet you know her. She is a singer, a songwriter. She owns a studio. Today's guest is a multi-talented Lori Paul. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Nancy. How are you today?
I'm so good. I got to remember to look at the camera, not at your face, so it's really difficult. So I wanted to just start off by talking about Spider Lodge. That's two names. That's for your, I believe, your band and the name of your studio?
Yes, that's true. We were Spider Lodge Studio before we were the Spider Lodge Trio, but all that sort of happened around the same time. And we just thought we would like to get the name out there. And because the Spider Lodge Trio is made up of my husband and myself, who, of course, teach out of Spider Lodge. And then our drummer is Clay Thornton. We thought, well, we can probably call ourselves Spider Lodge authentically then.
Very good. Now, how's it working with your husband? Because not a lot of people do that, I would think.
You mean working together and living together and
Yes.
all of that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Well, you know, luckily my husband is a very easygoing guy. He's also a very good cook. So
Yeah, a winner.
He's able to just keep me in a good mood by just telling me what we're having for dinner. So, you know, we get along pretty well. You know, it is a challenge to spend as much time as we do together, but we also have our own studios and we have our own areas in the house where we can just go and do the things that we enjoy doing on our own. And then we always meet back in the kitchen.
Very nice. It's a good spot to meet. My
That's
husband was
right.
good. My husband Bill was a good cook too, so I really did appreciate that. I
Yeah,
wanted
very
to just
nice.
go back to the beginning. Now, I was reading your bio, and it says you were born in Winnipeg, correct?
Right, yes.
So, at what point did you come to Chilliwack?
Well, my family moved out to Chilliwack in 1975. I was just about to turn 13, and we lived in Sardis, right by Sardis Park for a while. I went to Sardis Elementary when I first arrived, and of course it was the old Sardis Elementary, the old school, old building. Then after a year at Sardis Elementary, went to Sardis Senior for my 5 years of junior and senior years at Sardis, and so I'm a hometown gal.
All right, very good. Now, I know it said that you were singing in a choir at the
Yes.
age of 7.
Yes, well, you know, in Winnipeg, there was an actual program that we, all of the elementary schools participated in a choral competition, and grades 1, 2, and 3 would go to the beautiful Centennial Theatre where the Royal Winnipeg Ballet is based out of. And we would be singing 2 or 3 songs for a panel of judges, and all the different choirs in the city would compete. And so, yes, I did that grades 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, I was singing in church choirs as well. And then when I got to Sardis junior, senior, there was also a very good choir program there. And I was one of the students of Roland Amos was the choir director at Sardis Secondary for many years. So I did another 3 years of choir there, and I loved singing in the choir. It's a beautiful way to connect with people. You feel a sense of community in the choir. We now know, of course, that singing together releases the hormone oxytocin, and it's the same hormone that mothers have when they're breastfeeding. So we know that this is a beautiful bonding opportunity for us to sing together, and it's a great way to establish community with people who are like-minded, other singers.
For sure. Do you come from a musical family?
Well, my immediate family, my mom and dad, were not particularly musical, although they did listen to a lot of music, and I was exposed to a lot of primarily country music and country western. My mom was a big Neil Diamond fan, a big Elvis fan. But I did find out that my grandparents, my dad's mom, and her family, as so many families in previous generations without access to the entertainment we have today, everyone in their family, a large family, would play piano, accordion, lots of instruments after dinner, and that was their entertainment. So apparently my grandmother had a lovely voice. I never did hear her sing, unfortunately. I didn't know her, but it was later on that I was told that her family was very musical and she was a wonderful singer. So that was a big surprise to me, but perhaps that's where I get it from.
Nice. So let's talk about your musical career. As a career, well, wait a minute. No, let me start the fact that you joined a rock and roll band at the age of 15.
That's right. That's right.
Was that through school, or how did that come about?
Well, that was an interesting experience for me. I was, as I say, already singing in the choir, and I was then taking drama in grade 10 at Sardis. And one of the other students there had mentioned to me that he was in a band and they were looking for a singer. So I went and auditioned, and that turned into my very first band called Special Guest. And that was with my current drummer, Clay Thornton, who's also a Chilliwack fellow. Yes.
Wow, nice.
So that was amazing that that band actually was together for a few years and had a number of famous Chilliwack musicians in it. Jeff Bowman, who is a wonderful guitarist and also a guitar teacher here in Chilliwack. Chris Mawhinney, again, great guitar player. He was in that band. Peter Friesen was the fellow who I mentioned, the keyboard player who I met through a drama class. He was playing keyboards. So we had this lovely large band, actually. There was 7 of us in that band. And we started playing around local. Of course, I was still underage. We weren't playing in the nightclubs back then. I was 15. So we actually were playing mostly for events locally whereby, for example, there'd be a ball tournament in town and the league would hire us to come play a dance at a hall. So I've actually played, I think I've played at every hall in Chilliwack probably over the years. Even Evergreen Hall, which was, of course, the biggest venue at the time. And we had a lot of fun in that band. And, of course, we learned a lot and we were good friends. So that was a wonderful introduction to being a bandmate.
Sounds awesome. So at what point did your career take off? Because I'm reading your bio and you've performed at so many places. You performed at Expo 86 and the Commodore Ballroom. And, all of these wonderful places.
I was very fortunate. I can tell you that what happened was when I graduated, I'm in the class of 80. When I graduated from Sardis, I then moved to Vancouver. And I knew that that's where I would have to go in order to have the exposure and the experiences that I needed to become a professional. And I was so fortunate that shortly thereafter, we went from being in Special Guest together to being in a band called Dogskin Suit. And that was again with Clay, my drummer, and different musicians made up the rest of that band. But we actually broke through in the Vancouver music scene due to a program called The Fame Game, which was something that CBC Television had produced at that time. And we actually made it to the finals of The Fame Game. And so that was the exposure that we needed in town to then be able to book venues in Vancouver. And, back then there was a flourishing club scene, a nightclub scene that was I don't know how many different venues there were, but at least 30 venues in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. And, the clubs then were open 6 nights a week, live music. So I really was able to hone my skills and develop my entertainment capabilities, I would say, how to hold a room's attention, how to maintain a charismatic presence on stage through just sheer repetition. We basically played 6 nights a week, year in, year out, almost a decade. I, of course, changed bands, had different people that I worked with. And by the time 1986 came around, I was working with a band called Science, which was a very well-respected band in Vancouver. And yes, we had some incredible opportunities. We opened for B.B. King at 86th Street Cabaret.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a couple of really great opportunities. We also opened for a band called Tower of Power, which is a fantastic horn band. And basically from that point on, I then started to put my own bands together, because that was the way for me to perform the kinds of songs that I felt were best for me. And over the years, I was able to, yes, I went to Expo 88 in Brisbane with a band. And my dream was always to be able to tour the world as a recording artist. That was always the thing that I'd hoped to do. But you know, it's a very difficult business. One of the challenges that you have is that you are always traveling. If you really wish to promote your records and you are wanting to please your management and your agency, you end up being on the road so much. And of course, it takes a toll. You know, back then we didn't have inexpensive long distance charges. So my phone bill would very often wipe out any earnings that I had. And it's kind of a lonely existence on the road as well. So I was, by the time 2004 rolled around, I had an experience working on a cruise ship for 3 months.
Oh.
And yeah, and that was also something I'd wanted to try. I thought that would be kind of fun to do. But yeah, and you know what though, the problem with the cruise ship, it's a very regimented lifestyle. And when you're on there as an entertainer, you know, you're really worked very hard. And by the time I got home from that experience, I did 3 months on the Italian cruise ship, the Costa Victoria, which went through Italy, Turkey, Kusadasi, Turkey, and Port Piraeus, Athens. So it was a beautiful little Aegean Sea tour. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful places, but it was very hard work, and I lost my voice a couple of times, and I knew that cruise work was not for me. So I was lucky enough in 1998 this was. In 1998, I was lucky enough to come home from the cruise ship. I made my first record called Now or Never, and then I was working at the Arts Club Theatre Company for the next 6 years as the front of house manager. And that was a terrific job, but it was a full-time job. And so trying to keep my music career going with my day job, as it were, at night, it was really, really tiring. And by 2004, I realized it was too much to keep both things going. And I came back to Chilliwack at that time. My grandmother was actually ill, and I was going to help my mom with her care. And that's when I met Rick Genge. And of course, we were both single at the time, and we were, you know, he was in his 50s, I was in my mid 40s. And just so worked out that we enjoyed each other musically. We became good friends first. He had a beautiful little Shih Tzu dog who I fell in love with. And then I realized that if I really wanted to spend as much time with that dog as I wanted to, I'd have to marry Rick. So that's what I did.
Very good. Now, I know that in 2019, you were the Female Artist of the Year at the Fraser Valley Music Awards.
Yes. Well, Nancy, here's the thing. If you just hang in there long enough, eventually they just feel for you. They think, oh, we got to give this girl some kind of prize. She's just, how can she, you know? Well, that was, my band also, Spider Lodge Trio also put out an album in 2019 called Palomino. And we were nominated for the Country Album of the Year. Well, sadly, we did not win that award. But it was a complete shock and surprise to me that I didn't even realize Female Artist of the Year was a thing until they presented me with the award. And of course, I was so surprised. I really wish in hindsight that I'd prepared something to say that would inspire all the other artists in the room and you know, encourage everybody to continue to do the good work that artists do for their society. Instead, I just kind of was gobsmacked and just was like, oh gosh, thanks everybody, gee whiz, and got off the stage. But that was really a lovely thing that the organizers did to acknowledge my career at that time. And, you know, the artist's job is to reflect the society back to itself. And Musicians have played such an important role, as have other artists. Of course, playwrights, visual artists, writers of all stripes. In terms of rather than standing up and telling people what they should do or trying to pontificate, instead what we do as artists is we see something that we feel needs to be either addressed or perhaps changed for the betterment of the society, and we create art that draws people's attention to it in a way that's not doesn't put them off because we're not preaching, but in fact provides them with insight that perhaps they wouldn't have had, with the beautiful way through, because art is a very inclusive and welcoming kind of entertainment for some people. But there's usually a deeper meaning for the artist that they are trying to provide for their community, their society. And so I'm very proud to be an artist, and I really feel that we need to now, as I'm just about coming up on 60 in a few years here, I really feel now like it's a very important thing for us to promote and encourage, and of course we also help to train the next generation of musicians to the Chilliwack area. So this is something that, you know, both my husband and I feel strongly about, being able to enable and encourage young people to continue that tradition of helping to reflect the society back to itself, and hopefully for the betterment of everyone.
Right. So is that what you're currently doing? Teaching?
Yes, that's right. I coach vocals here in my little studio at Spider Lodge, and my husband teaches guitar, bass, and ukulele. And we also produce music for other artists. My husband has produced, I think he's up to 13 albums now for different local artists and some from other areas. We did a great project a few years back for an artist, Matt Lowen is his name, and he's a local Chilliwack guy. His dad, Brian Lowen, is Rick's and my peer. He was a bass player back in the day. So Matt's called his new band Brian Lowen's Kid, and we kind of like that. We think that's lots of fun, especially in that we know Brian. But his album is beautiful. And again, he's a great songwriter, singer-songwriter, and he also plays guitar. He's a wonderful artist. So when we can help to promote the next generation and help to get their music out there, we really feel like we're doing good work.
Awesome. So what are your future plans?
Well, you know, that's a very good question. And I have to say that currently we are, as musicians like to say, we are playing it by ear. We are actually just back to work this week. We have not had any students come to the studio since March due to the COVID.
Right.
And so we are employing various strategies to keep ourselves safe and to keep our students safe. And but it is a different kind of an environment. We have fewer students coming in, and you know, again, we are wondering how it is that we can serve through what it is that we're capable of doing. And by teaching people how to play, by teaching especially young people how to develop their skills and recognize that they too can become musicians or singers and songwriters. You know, in difficult times, we really do need to have our own ways of not only providing entertainment, which is something, of course, that musicians do primarily, but also of teaching young people how to use music almost as catharsis, as a way to help themselves to cope with the stress and strains of just being a human being, going through adolescence. All these things, as I'm sure you recall, are a big challenge. Having an ability to play music, having the opportunity to play with other musicians and have connection that way, and also the ability to, as I say, use music to soothe ourselves, to work some stuff out, you know, good old rock and roll. There's nothing quite like it for just blowing out some energy and letting off some steam. So in times that are challenging, like currently we're going through this, not only this COVID thing, but also today with our smoky skies, and we know that we've got lots of problems with environmental degradation and all of these things. are what our next generation is having to contend with. And we feel that if we can help them to find ways to, I guess, alleviate some of their stress. I mean, this is the thing, the great thing about art is that art, while it can provoke, as we sometimes like to do, to draw attention to things, it also soothes, and it also creates opportunities for people to comfort themselves in times when they are really just overwhelmed. So one of the things that we like to say is that we help people to learn fast, to make music, and to have fun for life. And that's the great thing about having an instrument or being able to sing and enjoy that. Not only does it allow you to make music with other like-minded people, but it's something that you can do for yourself. I especially like singing for this reason, because we've all got a voice. It's always with us. It doesn't cost anything. And it's a great way to make ourselves feel better using songs that we love and that we can sing no matter where we are, and for other people as well, which is also nice, but even just for ourselves. So I like that about the voice. It doesn't cost anything to sing, and you've always got your instrument with you.
True, as if you have a good one. I don't sing very well. We don't have much time, but I just want to switch gears, okay? Because you were talking about, some of your interests, which were, what was that? Where did I see that? Collecting vintage linen?
That's right. I love the handmade, embroidered or crocheted things that the ladies in the previous generations have made, which some people don't have an appreciation for. And that just suits me fine, because there I am at the thrift stores picking up these beautiful crocheted pot holders or handmade things. You may notice that behind me, we have some beautiful Salish weavings. You know, I love the idea that a stalo, probably a matriarch, probably someone who was older, had spent the time and her hands made these beautiful pieces of art. And so I love to surround myself with things that are handmade. And, you know, it's beautiful when the machine does the work for us, but something that's handmade is particularly special to me. So yeah, I am a thrift store frequenter, and I love to find embroidered tablecloths, embroidered pillowcases. And like I say, I've got a crocheted potholder collection that's pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. So these are things that just give me a lot of joy.
Cool, cool. Now you also collect children's books. Are vintage books or?
Yeah, they're vintage books. A lot of them are books that I read as a child. And so they have that nostalgia factor for me. A lot of them are books about animals. I'm a big animal lover. And a lot of these books are, for example, Marguerite Henry did a series of books on Misty of Chincoteague. This is, again, based on actual breeds of horses and things that may or may not have actually happened. But I love the idea that through the use of children's books, we help children to have compassion and empathy for all living things. And that's what those books did for me. And also, of course, I grew up around people who were kind to animals as well. So these books kind of reiterate that for me. And I just love the illustrations and the artwork. And it's kind of a way of revisiting the happier times of childhood by going through those books. I must admit, though, I've had to cull my collection a little bit recently. We only have so much room. And if I knew of an organization that might enjoy them, I would probably donate them. But I think now that they're actually more little memorabilia and ephemera for me, and probably not that valuable to anyone else.
Now, one more topic, and then we're going to have to close it off. You collect men's neckties, and you craft those into collars and cuffs.
Yes.
That's quite unique. And
well, it is.
Sorry, for that you have a website for that, right?
Well, I have a page on Etsy, which is a site that sells vintage items as well as handmade items. And, you know, I love the idea that we take something that's no longer useful in its original purpose and we upcycle it, we call that. We repurpose it by making it into something else that is either useful or lovely. And so my men's neckties are part of that. I'm not I'm certainly not a gifted seamstress by any stretch of the imagination, but I can construct these other items which I enjoy. I wear them on stage when I perform, and I gift them to my friends. And, it's just a nice way to utilize materials that otherwise might be in the landfill. And I've learned over the years that the best way to make change in the world is, as Gandhi said, to be the change. So I like to do these things so that I'm basically leading by example. And I hope that people will find these things lovely and maybe be inspired to do some upcycling on their own.
Right. Well, this has been awesome. Unfortunately, we're complete out of time.
That's all
but I
right.
want to thank you for agreeing to this. And I want you to just hold on while I talk to the audience and say goodbye to the audience. Okay.
Nancy,
So
thank you so much.
Oh, for sure. So just stay with me for a second. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy meeting and learning a little bit more about Lori Paul, as I did, and hope to see you next time. And be safe and all of those wonderful things. Peace out.
For you.